Now, you heard people say they can remember me.
Yes, I mean,
How do you do that?
Well, you know.
What's better, the cornbread or the biscuits and gravy? But what sells, Mom? Do you know what drip is?
drip and what
It's a word.
That's what some
Like a slang term. Yeah, no, I don't
Oh,
know
but I'm
what drip
down to know.
means. I know what drip in the water line so they don't freeze means.
Welcome to the first ever Appalachia Connection episode with your host, Big John, producer, whatever you want to say. We're going to get started early with the show because of the weather might be coming. So we're just going to do introductions. We're going to do introductions. We got Christopher Cody Allen, Don Wolf Montgomery, Big Tony Allen, and we got a few viewers here. I don't know if they want to be on here or not, but let's go ahead and we'll switch. We got Christopher Cody Allen. Wolf.
How you doing?
Oh, wait, your mics are live now. All right. And Big Tony Allen.
How you
from the
doing?
Seems
farmhouse.
like I'm on a delay on mine, but that's all right.
You will be a delay on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, we're going to talk about a few things. You know, the snowstorm's starting to happen.
Snowstorm's been happening. How's everybody in the South survived the snowstorm so far?
Yeah.
You know, wake up yesterday morning, -9 degrees outside. I had to go pour hot water on Amanda's chicken's feet because they was froze to the ground, but we're still getting eggs. Had to build a fire around my outdoor spigot because it was froze, so I took a little bit hillbilly ingenuity and I took charcoal and I built a circle around my outdoor spigot and I lit it and thawed my spigot. It worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Thank
It's
you.
better than the blowtorch method, you know.
Yeah. I had a truck
I remember the
froze up
blowtorch
first
method.
thing.
How many times have we been under a house with the
Not
blowtorch
enough
method?
antifreeze. We're not prepared for that in this country.
No, we're not. This country's not set up. You know, up north they're set up for that kind of temperature. We're not set up for -9 degrees down here. So
The coldest place in the lower 48 states of the United States was here in Kentucky.
I saw that online. So that's probably a first time ever, I would imagine.
I would say so.
I'd say so. In the lower 48, I guess Alaska would be the exception. But yeah,
I don't
we
think it was white.
and my water lines didn't freeze, so I was happy about that. Don,
There is a few people that have their water lines free.
I know, and it's an awful thing, guys. I grew up with it. Listen, I laid under them, and it was absolutely. Don, I think your truck froze up.
My truck froze up, but we're going to try to
Radiator
touch
froze
on
up.
local stuff, and
Radiator froze up.
national stuff, and international stuff here on this podcast. Our first thing, you know, just have a good time, a lot of laughs.
Have a good time. Comment, like, and share. We're starting a little early because of the snow that's
There
supposed to
you
be
go.
coming.
Oh, my Aunt Donna's in here now. Now the party started.
There we go. Absolutely. All the way.
If you guys got any questions, we're at the legendary Farmhouse Diner shooting a live show.
Best food in eastern Kentucky.
Easily.
Go ahead and send a shout out to our sponsors, John, if you don't care.
Do it.
We want to go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors. The sponsors, as always, of course, the legendary Farmhouse Diner here in East Kentucky, Granny Made Cheesecakes, and Tech Holler Technology Service.
TechHoller.com.
TechHoller.com.
And Appalachia Insider.
Appalachia Insider.
Producing this.
Appalachia Insider is producing this. TechHoller.com. And now, I believe, FarmhouseDiner.com. Is that a thing now, John?
FarmhouseDinerKY.com.
FarmhouseDinerKY.com. Find them on the interwebs.
And as far as all this technology stuff is concerned, I'm terrible at it. It makes me very paranoid. So, of course, Cody's my first cousin. We grew up together, and John grew up right down the road from us. We all grew up together. So when I have a tech problem, I call Big John Howard with Tech Holler Solutions, and I'm telling you guys,
Absolutely.
if you have a tech problem, give him a shout out. He will take care of you. I sat and watch him punch that thing, you know.
You ain't got to look at
And
that.
I'm
There's a camera.
I'm looking, you know. I said, John, what are you doing? Well, I said, okay, John, you got it. So,
Look at the
if you
camera.
guys have any kind of tech issue, holler at my man Big John. I promise you,
go.
he'll take care of
Absolutely.
it.
So now, a little reference for all of you that don't know, Tony and I, like he said, we're first cousins. We're 2
We're
years
all
apart.
cousins.
We grew up together. John grew up right down the road from us. Don here was our real live Indian guru that led us through life and taught us the way. So we've all come together here,
We're all cousins.
all family.
all family.
We are all
Yeah.
family. Come together here to host a nice little podcast and tell you about our opinion about things.
in my heyday, which was a long time ago, thank God, before Amanda found me and pretty much saved me, these boys kind of, they followed me around, and I taught them some not so nice tricks. I hope some good ones, but some not no nice ones too. I remember, the Lord have mercy. We can talk about that, but we won't on our.
No, we get too many
Yeah,
nasty emails.
really nice things. I try to teach them, but then they learn some not so nice things off of me too. Would you boys agree to that?
I would agree with that. I figured out that this is live and your face is out there. Somebody's going to step up and go, "Hey, wait a minute, ain't that my baby's dad?" I mean, that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you.
No, I hope not. God have mercy, man. They'll kill me.
Are you Cody Allen?
How'd you know?
You're my daddy.
So I'm curious, John, what your thoughts are on first topic. Wholesale toilet paper versus Charmin.
What?
So the question becomes, do you
What this
sacrifice
says, boy?
quality to save money? And when you sacrifice quality, of course, we call it up in the mountains, we call it John Wayne toilet paper because it's rough and tough and don't take no crap off nobody. That's John Wayne toilet paper, so that will be your cheaper variety of toilet paper. And if you use it over a course of time, especially if you have a stomach virus, you're going to get a blister.
Well,
But do you sacrifice the money and do you buy the Charmin or do you go with the John Wayne toilet paper?
here's the first
Well,
thing.
you kind of got the same thing with McDonald's. Do you want to sacrifice your stomach
Yeah.
and get a McDonald's cheeseburger, or
free laxative.
you want a Farmhouse Diner
Do you
cheeseburger?
want to come for the T-Rex burger?
Well,
Free laxative at McDonald's.
yeah, I like I said, I don't know. We
We don't want any.
a lot of people
Yeah,
are talking
from
about this
I don't
day
know
and
for any
time about the
sponsors.
price of goods and all this good stuff, and I think a lot of people have to sacrifice what they buy for a cheaper version. Me personally, H&H Viennese work as good for me as Armour Viennese do. So we,
Well,
I can't find a lot of
what
difference
do you
in
think,
them.
Cody, about? I think toilet paper is the most important thing
Well,
in life,
it's-
material
it's-
thing in life.
It's actually interesting that you bring this up because my wife and I were out last night shopping. And she looked at me, we had a cartload of stuff. She looked at me, she said, "We need toilet paper. We are constantly buying, there's 8 people
Well,
in
you
the
got
home.
to have it.
We're constantly buying toilet paper." She said, "We need toilet paper." I looked at her, I said, "Now listen, I'm willing to, cut a little bit on certain things.
Right.
But certain things, I'm willing to pay a little extra more for, and we're getting the Charmin Ultra Soft."
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you do the squares? How many squares, or you just roll it?
Oh, you
out?
said, do you ration the amount of squares per wife?
so
Yeah, like 1, 2, 3, or do you?
when I was a young man, my cousin
Yeah, I
Dougie
do
taught me
like
this
one
trick.
and a half.
We're getting into Doug
When I was a
already.
young man, my cousin
Lord.
Dougie taught me this trick.
Oh Lord!
Now this John, focus the camera in here. Would you mind if I borrow one of your? one of
Go
your
right
tablets
ahead,
here?
sir.
Dougie taught me this trick. Now Dougie grew up in harder times than I,
Yes, it is.
and we was with a young lady named Leanne, and Dougie taught me this
He was
one.
depraved. I mean,
he was.
deprived.
He was a little depraved. I mean, deprived. You're right. And Dougie taught me this trick when it comes to hard times. So here's the trick: you get your toilet paper. Helps a lot if it's single ply. It makes it a lot easier to work with. And then you just give it one of these right here. See. And then you do what you got to do.
Right.
Now Dougie taught me that trick when I was a young
And then you
man.
wipe your finger with the
And then
sides of it.
you just clean off. But I can't
Well-
say that I've ever worked and tried it.
The only
But it
person I
seems
know-
logical.
The only person I know, if I can say somebody's name and not offend him,
No, yeah, don't
the only
Lord.
person I know that's got a bidet on Craft Creek is HFL.
HF Allen definitely got a
Let me tell you
bidet.
something. I am a strong
23
fan, and I
years,
actually will get one of these. I do want one.
We have
HF.
somebody watching from Wales, England.
Well, hey,
Where's England?
how's it going, England?
Yeah, they
Hey.
call us
Gabriel
Yanks.
Brown is in a good. Where's the good rook games at?
Well.
We're gonna be plenty on farmhouse.
Yeah, we have occasional rook game. We got we have to referee because they get pretty wild sometimes. But we have an occasional rook game. We got everything.
Now to get back to your question, real quick. I personally am a remove it from the roll, give it a couple round,
too
rip off
much.
kind of guy.
Too much.
That's the way I do it. Am I not sounding good?
How's this?
Yeah, you got to.
Flip it around. All right, like this.
Yeah, that way.
So you know me, I used to be Big Tony Allen. Well, now I'm
How
on
about
this
Like this?
recommended shot for sugar,
Light up.
Yeah, that'd be good.
and I'm not so big anymore.
All right,
But
okay.
what comes with the sugar and the shot is, of course, your morning ritual as far as your movements aren't the same.
We've got Paul Montgomery watching
So,
from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
So the other evening, I decided I was going to stop down and get me some, laxative. So it was Phillips Magnesia.
Very well. Pastor Patrick.
So I take the Phillips Magnesia, and on the way home, I drink about a half a bottle of it. Well, I get home and everything's fine. Well, I fall asleep.
Excuse me.
So I wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I look over in my stomach. It's like you're pumping it. It's just going whoop.
You had a bad bait of beans.
I had a miserable night, but I did have 2 bowls of farmhouse soup beans before I went home, so that could have been the problem too.
That could lead to something. It also, something else that comes with sugar is I've noticed over the years, Tony's become so much sweeter.
Oh yeah,
It's been amazing.
Sweeter?
He's a sweetie.
I'm working on it.
He's mellow, maybe.
Mellow. That was it. Mellow.
But we can be serious too now, guys. What's your thoughts on all the current world events? You know, we don't want to get too political here.
We got some nice hats tonight.
Yeah, we do. We've got farmhouse hats, and
I voted hat.
Don's got one, but he's left his at home, so he's going with the Kentucky hat tonight. But
Kodo decided he'd show us all up with his hair.
Kodo's got, I don't have Kodo's hair problem. He got that gene. I'm as bald as a bug. But I don't know. I thought we'd talk about some growing up. Maybe how we grew up versus somehow you grew up.
I got one.
From Cuz Michael Howard in Michigan.
Hey, Michael, shout out to you, brother. Thank you for watching tonight.
I've
This is
seen some
our
wild
first
times
time.
fork with Rook and Spades. Gabriel Brown.
We have.
Hang on. I got to fix it. I'm a trucker, I got to
Get it lined out. Well,
fix it.
Yeah. Don's a retired trucker. He's
You do this so you can carry it in your back pocket. Like, maybe.
But
one size fits all. I don't
Wendy
know.
Hyde.
Here's a question of
Hey,
the.
sis, love you.
Here's a question.
I'll see you on there.
Do you bend your hat the way you want, or do you live it
Farmhouse.
flat?
Down.
Well, let me show you. Hand me mine right there if you don't care,
Farmhouse
brother.
We
and I'll
can
show you how to-
demonstrate the proper,
Good place to
we'll
see.
call it the
So
Craft
this-
Creek hat
This
bender.
is the way
Creek hat bender.
I learned this from Sean Allen. This is the technique I learned. So first I give it the good bend.
Yeah.
Okay? You got me here, John? First we give it the good bend. And then when I take it off at night, you tuck. And then that keeps you
Well, it
bent.
looks
And
like
after
an
a little
arm
while,
bend.
see,
Getting out of view, bro.
after a little while, after you tuck and keep you bend, it holds.
Called the aardvark.
The aardvark? That's an anteater, ain't it?
No, what is it that folds herself like that?
Yeah.
The armadillo.
Armadillo. There you go.
Armadillo.
Bulls, keep sharing, liking. If you want this to continue being a thing, this is awesome.
Yeah, I am not
Yeah.
one of those flat bill people. I've never really understood that one. That's
already
it's become a
took off
very
the
common thing here lately. Oh yeah, and the sticker has to go.
Guys,
first.
you're more than welcome to shoot us some comments too if you want to hear something that you're not hearing.
Whatever you want to talk about.
We'll talk about whatever. We don't know much, but we'll fake it if we don't. There's some comments out there, and
Any topic you want
any topic you want to discuss,
just,
we'll try to keep it as nice and.
John, what do you have next in the list of
we will
comments?
keep it
topics?
nice.
Well, we talked about the snowstorm already, didn't we?
It's snowing
There ain't a whole lot you can say about it. It's snowing.
It snowed a lot.
as we
Yeah,
speak.
we got a lot of snow, but I've noticed about snowstorms when we don't have no snow, everybody's complaining we don't. Winters ain't like they used to be. Winters ain't like they used to be. When I was a kid, we used to skate down the hill, and then when you get a big snow,
I really
oh
did.
God, I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Florida. That's
I
it.
really
I've had
did.
all I can stand.
When
When I was a
I walked
kid,
uphill to school both
you
ways.
couldn't break the ice till May.
A good
March.
story on breaking ice. I remember one time, me and my brother, our daddy always had hunting dogs, which we still do now, and we had to go water the dogs. So the creek was froze over, and I said, Lord, we're in a gone here. And he said, yeah. So he said, well, go out there. And he said, take that, he was older than me, so he'd put me out there. And he said, take that axe and bust the ice. And I stand out there, and he said, bust a circle around yourself now. He said, keep chopping right around yourself, and it'll bubble up. I busted a
yeah.
circle around myself and fell right flat first into the creek.
There you go.
I was helping a friend of mine the other day. I was helping him push his
my girl from
equipment
Richmond.
out. And
Hi, Courtney.
he'd pile up a big pile of snow, a good friend of mine, and I give a little shove, and it popped out, and I went head first, feet up in the snow.
I could tell you some ice stories, but I ain't got time.
Don, we need a good snow story from you.
For me,
Good snow story from Don.
Dip back into the legends.
It was on a Friday. I remember it well.
This is a good start.
It started snowing, and I was working a double out of Inez, I think, and I had a bologna sandwich. I was trucking, of course. Had a bologna sandwich, and I didn't know at the time how much that bologna sandwich was going to affect the rest of my life. And it snowed a whole lot, and that's all I got to say about that.
I've had a lot of bologna sandwiches
I can
in
tell
my
you a
life.
story. I can tell you a story about.
I got a topic. What's the best bologna?
Well, I mean, it goes back to toilet paper for me. Am I going to go price versus quality? Are you looking for quality or the best price point bologna?
Just the best bologna.
I would have.
Best bologna, price regardless.
I grew up on Kentucky Border
Kentucky
bologna,
Border.
and you can't go
It's
wrong with it.
slimy. Yeah, it's too slimy.
You can't go wrong with Kentucky Border bologna.
I mean, I seen Dougie throw it up one time in chunks, and it was terrible.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, but
mean, you know.
I don't know.
I don't eat bologna.
My wife loves cons.
bologna.
She's
I don't eat bologna.
There was a grease
Sure he's your
spot
cousin?
for like 2 years.
yeah, I remember that. But my wife, she eats cons. I'm a Kentucky Border
Always like
man.
Con or Boar's Head.
Fisher's makes a good bologna. They good
Fisher's
quality
is all
bologna.
right.
I
But
like
now you
garlic.
You have to stay away from the Bar S. That's the worst bologna on the
No,
planet.
I'm ready to brought bologna up. Maybe some of our folks, if
If
we got anybody from Michigan watching, I'm told that you can't buy a roll of Kentucky Border bologna up north in Michigan. Is that true?
35 years, boy, keep it going.
Uh,
Bigger than the sports.
Gabriel
Because
Brown, Gabriel Brown wants
Yeah.
a story about Doug, Wendy, and Philip.
oh Lord, where would you start?
I'd start
Gabe?
with bologna.
They were legends, buddy. I'll tell you what, we miss them every day. They
was
were something else. Them two where I can tell you all kinds of stories. I went out hunting with them one night, just me and Doug and Wendy, and they got to arguing over a dog race. You know how they could do, like we've always done. And I was just a big young boy, and they got right into it, man. I thought they was going to, they squared off and everything, and then all of a sudden they just quit. And they said, nah, I ain't gonna do it acting this way over dogs. And the other one said, okay, and they quit. But I could tell you all kinds of story on them birds. They good men for definite sure, good men. Some of the best that ever walked the hills of Craft Creek, I guess. And
Oh, yeah.
thousands and thousands of dogs, you know. Thousands and thousands. But if to finish what I said, I'm gonna have to say Kentucky Border.
Kentucky Border or Board?
No, Kentucky Border bologna.
Okay. I've never heard of
KB for sure.
Really? I don't eat bologna, and I've
Cody
heard of
don't eat
Kentucky Border.
bologna. What's the deal?
Don, what you say on bologna? You're the oldest.
Who's too good for bologna?
Well, I mean, you know,
I'm not going to
Bologna's
say I'm
good.
too. Listen, I'm not going to say I'm too good for bologna, but now
you
I
like
just
it
never
cut
cared for
off
it.
or sliced regular. You know,
I
thick
like-
or thin. I like it thick,
I like a
It's
roll.
called what it is, too.
but not real thick. Right.
I like a roll
I like
and to be
garlic
able to
bologna.
cut it the thickness myself.
I like garlic bologna also.
When I was a young man, I remember watching Tony. He'd cut off a square. It'd be about 3/4 thick, about 3/4 of an inch, and then he'd just drowned it in mustard.
You gotta have mustard, son. When
I
you
mean,
bologna, what's the
drowned
matter
it.
with
Now,
you?
me personally, I'm not a bologna person, but if I'm going to eat it, it's got to be fried. Now, a little
Well,
fried
I
bologna
understand.
with some biscuits and
Yeah,
gravy, I
black.
can do that. Yeah.
Black.
Fried?
Yeah.
Is that is fried the best way to eat bologna?
Yes, fried is most assuredly the best way to
I
do it.
don't know. I would have to say a big, thick sliced piece of Kentucky Border bologna, a big, thick sliced piece of commodity cheese, and mustard would be the way I'd go. That'd be the way I'd
it's
go. I
You can't
mean,
beat, you can't beat the government cheese.
Probably a mood thing for me.
you can't beat it.
If it's morning, I want fried.
Yeah.
If it's afternoon, I want sandwich.
Watching over here.
So
at
we
Creekside.
talking like, okay, so bologna, mustard, or mayo and tomato.
Whatever I'm
I
in
like
the
it
mood for.
plain or cheese.
So you're saying plain with a little cheese. on
Big
it.
John says plain with cheese. Nothing else.
Well,
Oh.
what is some? What do you all like out there?
All right, no, wait. Now this is an important question that one of our
Oh,
Yeah.
Angie Howard. Boys, let's get down to the main question. Cornbread or biscuits with the gravy? Now that's a
That
question.
is a
I can
good
speak
question.
on them. because
Tony
I make-
Tony Allen happens to be an expert
I make,
when it comes to this.
I'm gonna say I make probably approximately 50 pounds of cornbread per week. I'm gonna say probably 20 skillets of gravy per week, maybe 30, and a lot of biscuits. And you can't go wrong with cornbread, and you can't go wrong with biscuits and
Cornbread
gravy.
in the evening, biscuits in the morning.
All right, now I got a counter, Wolf.
Oh,
there's the Okay. counter.
All right, cornbread in the evening, biscuits in the morning, unless the cornbread is fried cornbread after it's been made.
Oh, I
the
love
night
fried
before.
cornbread. I love fried
I love
cornbread.
Cut it
fried
up into
cornbread.
chunks and then
I
fry
don't
it
want a
up
whole
in
lot
that
of
fork.
cornbread, like with fish and too much. I don't want, just a little bit of cornbread.
So, like, people don't eat gravy like we do outside of Kentucky hardly. Like, you go down to Florida or something.
Well, you get a lot of grits, but you go up north, they don't eat. Well, the hillbilly connection up there still does, but up north it's white gravy. I mean,
got,
it's white as snow, but I ain't never seen gravy like that. And I'm
Tony,
like,
if you got-
brown you flour, gee,
You've
oh
got
me.
meal gravy, which is another topic.
Oh, I like meal
you
gravy.
have to have cornbread.
You gotta have cornbread, fried. You gotta have fried
How's
taters.
that little bit of grit does?
If you got meal gravy and you ain't got no fried taters to put your meal
My
gravy
mom
over, you
used
ain't got
to
meal.
love to make you meal gravy.
Every time I seen her, I good story. I'd caught a bunch of catfish, and me and Don always fished together, and we'd clean them together. And I pulled up and I said, "Bass, honey," I said, "Where's Don?" I said, "Go clean a mess of fish." Well, now Tony, he ain't home, but come in. I'll make you a skill of meal gravy and a pound of cornbread.
I'll say this, listen, this is no insult to the farmhouse diner, but Don Montgomery's mother, Bess, made to this day, and this is no insult to my mama, to this day, the best salmon patties I ever eaten in my life.
Oh, she was a professional
I appreciate
cook.
Cody. She was all right.
She was a professional, and she loved us. And I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, there ain't a time what I went there what she did. And listen, now we're talking about at this
93
time she
years
was up
old,
in her
90.
80s.
And he smoked one cigarette after another.
Yeah, she was up in her 80s, and when we walked in, her feet hit the floor. I put some gravy on. I put some cornbread
Now,
on.
Don, this is a different topic, but it's kind of along the same lines. You've got to tell for the people real quick one time the story about Bass fixing the holes in your jeans,
Oh, my jeans?
in his jeans.
Well, there's
Now go ahead and lay the land here.
I'll try to remember.
That's a good one, guys. Listen to this.
There was a time, when I was into trying to be fashionable, and the holy jeans were in style, and I said,
American Eagle, I believe.
I'd never give over maybe $12 for a pair of jeans, but I went and got me like a $44 pair. The jeans had holes all over them, and knees and up the front, and I took them in the house there. I was keeping mom at the time. We were living together, and I just put them in my room, and a couple of days I came in, and she said she always kept her cigarette here, like right here, and talked. And she said, them breeches you brought in, she said, I fixed them. She said, where did you get them at? Them was wore out. And I said, I said, what do you
She
mean?
patched them.
Every hole.
I said, what do you mean, Mom? You fixed them. She said, well, I patched them breeches. You couldn't wear them. And I said, let me see. And she did. She patched them like patches this long and this wide up the legs and the knees, and sewed. The thread was so pretty. And I said, those are beautiful, Mom. I said, I appreciate that so much. And that was the story. She was always doing
And then let's
something.
see, Don, at that time she'd have been what, about 90?
About 90.
About 90.
Yeah. She was a great person.
Yeah,
Had a great,
she's one of
sense
a
of
kind.
humor and didn't mean to be. And loved everybody.
Loved everybody. That's for sure.
Funny and didn't know it.
So, do we want to continue back
And
gravies?
I wore 'em. Also.
Somebody asked about chocolate gravy.
Yeah, I've made chocolate gravy. I've tried bologna gravy. I've made chicken gravy. I've made sausage gravy. I've made a lot of
Have
gravy.
you made squirrel gravy?
Oh Lord, yeah. What have I made?
I've
Squirrel
made
gravy. Is that a
squirrel
question?
Who said? Who wanted to know about chocolate?
I've
gravy?
made squirrel gravy.
Ricky Deaton wanted to know about
Ricky.
chocolate gravy.
I'm a
We also have another
chocolate gravy.
question. Angie, boys, this is Michael Howard. You know my mom makes the best gravy around. Big T knows.
Absolutely. I
Well,
gave her
she's
gravy.
got the hillbilly connection, Michael, so she still makes it brown like what we're used to down in this
The fact
country.
of
You
the
know.
matter is, man Shirley knows how to cook.
I ate
She can
her
cook.
gravy- I ate her gravy in the 70s.
She can cook. Now, Toomer Howard, he says she won't cook him nothing, but you know how Toomer is.
Toomer's been starving for years. if you
Yeah,
ask me.
according to him, he's starving to
I
death.
think
you
she
know.
was the first person that I ever had fried potatoes with Polish sausage in them.
And what year was that, Don, approximately?
I'd say 74, 75, and it was great.
Older than all we are here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I'll go along with you on that, John.
All right, next topic, boys. What we got?
Next topic. Somebody asked about something else. Let me see if I can find it here.
I don't
All right,
think
yeah.
that
We
you
talked
can
about-
say
did-
what's
did we decide?
better.
Well,
There
no,
you
no,
go.
no,
I
no.
think-
The question was cornbread or biscuits with the gravy.
Oh, with gravy?
With gravy.
Biscuits. Biscuits.
Unless you fry the cornbread.
Or unless you've got meal gravy.
Biscuit and gravy. I mean, that's...
Yeah, biscuit
I
and
don't know.
gravy.
I
I mean,
don't
that's
know.
biscuit and gravy's as
Boy,
old as the hills
let me
around
tell
us.
you
I mean, you
something.
can't.
Let me tell you something, boys. I like that fried cornbread the next day. You let your pone stale, get up the next morning, cut it into squares, fry it up.
Trailing beagles, Brian, really stress me out. I can't help it. I'm as I get older, I'm trying to transition away from being so picky. But Lord, it racks my mind, son. I mean, if I'm out here and we're talking about making gravy, if I want to make a skillet of rabbit gravy, and my dogs are barking, I don't know whether it's got a rabbit or not. It really makes me have a bad day.
We're going to have everybody that's watching this podcast.
Terry, well, how you doing, Terry?
Well, yeah, that's the point.
Come to the farmhouse diner, young.
Well, we ain't got no gravy and biscuits right now, and I'd say if I went to Mama and said, "Honey, they want gravy and biscuits," she'd smack me. So don't do me, don't do me that way.
Stop by tomorrow for gravy and biscuits.
Paul Montgomery said, "I think the farmhouse should offer fried rabbit on the hot bar."
Well, you know what?
Rabbit on a stick.
Tony's farmhouse on Craft Creek, Paul. You can come get some fried rabbit. Down here, they'd frown on that. The health department would,
Yeah, health department's a little against wild game.
Yeah, but at Tony's farmhouse in the head of Craft Creek, you come on, I'll fry you a skillet of rabbit, son. We'll put gravy over it.
Hello, Bob Jordan. How you doing?
Faith Family and Farmhouse, nothing better. Kurt McDaniel.
Paul Montgomery says smoked bologna.
I got a good buddy of mine that smokes a lot of stuff, and he's been absolutely just saying it's the best ever was. He smoked a bunch of bologna. I've never tried it, actually, to be honest.
Murray Pennington has asked about cornbread.
Sound kind of good.
I've heard it, but I've never
Murray
tried it.
Pennington has a question about cornbread or crackers in vegetable soup.
Cornbread for me.
Cornbread for me and crackers with chili.
Crackers with chili.
Yeah, but cornbread definitely.
Chili with
But
crackers.
Murray, if it's got to be crispy, real crispy, crunchy cornbread and vegetable soup. It don't get no better.
There you go. This is going pretty good.
No, wait a minute. Let's go ahead.
Kurt.
Let's go ahead. and clarify.
Gabriel Brown said, "I had a plate of the special today. Me and Newt. It was awesome."
I heard, now, there's one thing, Gabriel, that Mrs. Allen can do, and that's make lasagna, buddy. My dad, when he was alive, somebody mentioned them on here earlier, and if he didn't have soup, beans, and cornbread, or biscuits and gravy, or something of that nature, he'd throw it outside. He wouldn't eat it,
Now let's go ahead and clarify.
and,
Now, some people wonder about this, Tony.
He loved for some reason, Amanda, every now and then he'd call up to the house.
What are
of
y'all
course,
laughing about?
by the time me and Amanda came along, he was already a little bit sick, but he'd call up the house, Amanda, he talked, you remember, Amanda, make me some lasagna. Okay, Philip, and then she'd take it down to. But he loved her lasagna. She's always made real good homemade lasagna. I don't know why, and he wouldn't eat spaghetti. He wouldn't eat none of that stuff. But he had that big deep voice, Don. You remember he said,
Oh, yeah.
make me some lasagna.
Yeah.
Guys, I really appreciate everybody liking and sharing this. If you guys could keep doing it, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Tony.
Kurt McDaniel says
Thick,
faith, family, and
cakey
farmhouse.
cornbread
Nothing
or
better. I
thin or
agree.
crunchy?
Well, you're talking to a guy that runs a restaurant, so I've seen it all with questions like that. Cody just said thick, cakey cornbread or crispy, thin cornbread. For me, crispy, thin, crunchy cornbread. But I had a customer here, I won't call his name, that told me that he would rather have yellow cake than cornbread.
No.
Now, I think you was a part of that conversation, and we all never, I don't want no yellow cake. If I want a yellow cake, I eat a yellow cake. I want cornbread,
There you go.
Cornbread's got to be greasy, and it's got to crunch when you bite into it to suit Tony Allen.
Can I get an amen?
I'll second that.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right, Santana. Dad he wasn't big on that, but he, like I said, he loved her lasagna for some
Wayne
reason.
was the same way. I could tell you some stories about
Wayne was a
Allen.
milk
Oh, my
and bread
God.
and pepper man too. Yeah, he
Me and
loved
Wayne
it.
Allen like to starve to death at Jackson, Kentucky, one week. That's a different story for another time. And it was good, all good.
Wayne was a sight. I spent a many
He
night
was
with him.
one of a kind, my friend Wayne Allen.
He's funny as he could be. I spent a many a night with them old boys.
All right. Well, now I don't want to get to crying now, so let's talk about something else.
Yeah, we don't want to get on them old guys. We'll all get emotional because we all surely miss them. That's for sure.
So, what's everybody's thoughts about the current president of the United States?
I don't want to touch on that.
No, nothing on that. Okay.
We'll offend somebody.
Talk
Would
about anything. in this
anything
world.
but politics, religion, and her.
Right.
That's what Sammy Kershaw
Hey,
said.
old buddy. how
That
you
covers
been?
90% of everything I know how to talk about.
Politics, religion, and her is what Sammy Kershaw
Politics,
said.
religion, and women's all I know to discuss.
Hey, old buddy, how have you been?
Yeah, we don't want to get no nasty emails.
No, we don't want no. We want to keep this friendly. We don't want to make anybody mad. We don't want to get into
Somebody shoot
politics.
us a question. Who,
We want to talk about everyday living.
Paul, I could tell the story about selling a car in Mount Sterling, yeah. Paul Montgomery.
That sounds like a good one.
That's right, Well.
My cousin Paul, he said, let's go to Mount Sterling. The car sales were there. This has been a long time ago. I think he had a 99 Pontiac Blue. So we go to Mount Sterling, a whole bunch of us, and 4 or 5 of us in the car, and he says, I'm going to wash the motor off. I said, don't do that, Paul. And he did. And long story short, we pushed this car all over Mount Sterling. And it would run a few seconds and quit. And we had a lot of experiences. We saw fights and people being knocked out of doors and domestic disputes. I'm telling the truth and all this stuff. And we finally got the car running pretty good. And I said, hey, Gumby, that's what we called him. I said, if we sell the car, I just had a thought, how are we getting back home? And he didn't have no answer for that, so we headed back with the old car. Yeah. We hadn't thought, we didn't have a plan, is what happened. When you don't have a plan, you have to come back home. That was a good one.
I see your question there, Thomas Corder. That's about like the political debate. We won't go into that because everybody's got their own opinion. My guess would be Hud Allen will tell you he does, but that's like I said, that's up for opinion, so we won't go into that. As far as business up here, I know you're under Marvin, but I know you as Booton. As far as business up here, it's been great. We really like it. It's laid back, more of a country theme, and better parking, more room. We're not complaining. Of course we could always be busier, but we're doing all right, and we enjoy seeing the people every day. We got our regulars up here that come in every day, and me and Amanda, if we don't hear from them in a couple of days, we're calling or trying to find out what's going on. And
it's like family. It's like going to a friend's house to eat.
We're liable to be trading pocket knives or playing a game of rook up here at any given time. So it's real laid back. For you guys that are on here that have not been up here, it's kind of like maybe stepping back in time a few years, just the way things used to be done. When you gathered at the old store and traded and swapped and told big tales, and I promise you, we tell a lot of big tales. Yeah. Ain't a one of us up here couldn't blow up an onion sack, to be honest.
And we don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
No, you can't. You can't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. And when I say that now, I don't mean to lie to people. We're talking about telling big tales, By far, Clara Allen makes the best pizzas at this restaurant, and anybody that's ever tried them will tell you that. She's our professional pizza maker, that's for sure. Uncle Doug married me in my own. Yeah, I remember that, Gabe. I remember when he did that. He got ordained there, and I think he married you and your wife too, didn't he?
Did.
I thought so. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Now, of course, when me and Amanda are a little bit older, when we got married, he wasn't ordained yet, or of course he'd have married us too.
Well, you remember how he was, Tony, about talking to the public anyway.
Oh yeah.
So when he got ordained, he married Gabe, and I'm sure he was the same way. Was that the first time?
I don't know if Gabe was the first wedding he
did.
He did mine. I know that. When he did mine.
That's a juniper.
He looked at me after the end of it. He looked at me. He said, "I just want you to know one thing." I said, "What?" He said, "I hate doing this."
Well, yeah, it's
But no,
anytime.
here was funny about it because he loved it because he got to be a part of it. But he couldn't stand standing in front of people talking. Made him as nervous as a cat in a house full of rocking chairs.
Yeah, well, it wasn't me too. Everybody thinks that I'm Mr. Congeniality, but I just fake it. I'm nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs when I got to get up front and be the center topic of conversation.
I wish we had Kurt McDaniel here.
That'd be a good one to have here.
Yeah.
Kurt McDaniel's welcome anytime to join in the podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, Courtney, I remember them days too. We all had a big time. They was probably most of them were stories, though, just like you called them. Maybe my wife told me one time. She said, everything you tell. She said, you're like Big Fish. If you ever seen that movie Big Fish, she said everything you tell, there's a little hint of honesty to it. She said, but you always, add a little bit or take away. And I said, well, that's what makes the story good.
Me personally, Courtney, when I think about people telling stories, I can't think of a better storyteller growing up than my Mama Aubrey. My dad's mom.
I second that one.
Oh, yeah, she told some good ones, that's for sure.
Could spin a story that would keep a room full of people captivated.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I think we ought to go around, and I was thinking today about what we're going to talk about. what's your first ever memory?
Are we talking like photo memory, just a glimpse in time, or are we talking like detailed memory?
First memory as a child, and I'll tell mine first, then you boys can tell yours. I remember walking through a field. Now, I'm 6'2" and probably weigh, 270 pounds these days, but I remember walking through a field and my daddy packing me on his shoulders. And I remember a helicopter flying over, and I assume it was up in the head of Craft Creek. I assume it would have been during the coal boom, and it was probably Bill, whoever was up in there with a helicopter looking at the coal business. And I remember seeing that helicopter flying over, and he told me, he said, someday I'm going to take you on a ride on one of them. That's my first memory. I must have been, if I'm, of course, guessing, but I think 4 years old maybe. I remember that.
Well, how old do you think it is when people different? I guess I've heard people say they can remember even being born.
Like two, I think, 2 or 3.
You say, wait a minute, now you heard people say they can remember being
yes,
born.
I mean,
How do you do that?
Well,
who am I to call him a liar?
When Cody was born, they slapped his mother.
My mommy's on here, Wolf. She ain't gonna appreciate that.
I love you, Corey.
I remember being at the old house on Crane's Nest and had a basketball. For some reason, I'd always go dunk it like it was pushed next to the wall. And I thought it was a basketball goal, and I would dunk it.
Well,
I remember when I was little. I don't know why I done
Cody,
that.
you want to go for me? Go ahead.
Yeah.
My story is actually real similar to Tony's. The first story that I can remember vividly. I have picture memories of Granny and stuff like that, but the first story I remember vividly is we were living in a trailer beside of Tony's house. You remember this, Tony?
Yeah, I remember the trailer well. I lived it before you did.
Yeah, we were living in a trailer beside of Tony's house, and we were outside. I don't know if we were feeding the dogs, playing with the dogs, what it was.
How old were you?
But I couldn't tell you.
What do you say?
What do I say? How old I was?
Yeah.
I would say I was probably about 3 to 4.
That's young to remember.
But it was about to hit a tornado. First one I remember ever being aware of. And the sky turned black and it starts to storm, and Dad picks me up and throws me on his shoulders and takes off running from the strip job road, which is now Poncho's driveway, towards the trailer. And I remember that because I remember being afraid and not knowing why. But that was my first memory that I can remember of.
Yeah. My first memory also is probably the first song included in my first memories was the first song I remember hearing. We lived on Burr Branch off Route 30, and our neighbor lady would come down. I must have been about 4. And she, I guess you remember things that make you emotional or hurt you or make you mad or make you happy. But neighbor lady would come down and talk to Mom, and she would cry. She'd start crying and singing this song. And it's the first song I remember hearing also, and it was Window Up Above by George Jones. And I don't know why that sparked a memory in me, and I'd say, Mom, why is she crying? And Mom said, hush, hush, hush.
Sound like she could have been having some...
Hush, get around. I think she might have had some problems
some
with her
marital
man.
problems or something
But
going on there.
Psychology, that's what's known as a crisis
That is my
state.
first memory, I think, and my first song that I remember hearing.
Of course, we all grew up in a culture of music around here, and one thing we'll all tell you, don't ever listen to George Jones when you're having marital issues.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not a good, or consuming alcohol. It's not a good idea. Either one of them will put you over the edge,
Yeah.
Kurt's got an interesting one.
All right.
What you got,
Kirk McDaniel. I remember John's grandpa, Red Montgomery, lighting firecrackers with his cigarette on Crane's Nest, 3-4 years old. Lots of old memories of Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember Red, but I do remember Audrey. I remember Audrey, and I can remember her vividly in my mind what she looked like.
And one thing I remember about Red is he loved to gamble.
Did he?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
He was
And I'm crying out of one eye tonight. I don't know why.
But I remember Audrey well. Of course, and I remember, JB. I was real close with JB, and I remember Florida well, and Marcella and Audrey. I never really knew Luther, Arthur maybe a little. I'd maybe met him once or twice, but I can JB probably. Of course, I grew up right beside of JB. And we were real close, so I remember him better than I grew up with his boys. We were close. And
I got a good JB story for you, Tom.
Montgomery in Wales, England. How you doing?
Good
Montgomery's really get around. I've noticed that.
They do. They travel.
Well, on a quick
Well, they're
note,
originally from England, so she might not have got around. She might have just stayed there.
well, it could be. On one note, a fact that's a useless information is that every county or state in the United States, township or whatever, is named Montgomery.
Oh, there's a place named Montgomery in
Yes.
every. That makes sense.
In
Yeah,
every
I know.
state.
I know.
Or city
it's
or town.
midnight in Montgomery.
Oh yeah, you get down.
Can't
You know, I thought
hear
when
that
I lived in
baby.
Montgomery County, I'd meet a lot more Montgomerys, but I didn't.
No,
Well,
it's like
maybe-
deer crossings. You see deer crossing on the road, you never see a deer.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's most of these old towns, and I guess of course we know that the original ancestors
Cousin
that came
Crystal.
over here were Scotch Irish, and I think they kind of I shouldn't say I think, but according to
Which
what
is a
I've read,
misnomer. They were from England and Scotland.
Scotland and
Scotch
Ireland,
Irish.
yeah. Scotland and
Scots
England.
Irish is Scotland and England.
Yeah, well, we've all got Montgomery.
yeah,
It is,
Scott,
that's the way
but
it is.
most of the people here in Appalachia are Scots Irish in descent. And I think they acclimated to these hills because it reminded them of home, or so that's what I've been told. But we've got a lot of
The
words,
Highlands,
and
baby.
we got a lot of words and things we say that nobody understands. And even to my woman,
Howdy, Roman, how you doing?
and for all these people that I may offend, let me rephrase that. My wife, I should never say my woman. My wife, and I don't mean anything by woman. It's just it's a phrase of where I grew up. But my wife, my loving wife,
Colloquialism.
comes from maybe 45 minutes or an
doing,
hour from me, and some of the words that I say she don't understand, and I'll say like
Tell me
don't.
some of the words you say I don't understand.
Well, like I'll say don't do that in there another time,
Yeah.
and she look at me, what?
It's
What are you saying? I said, don't do that in there another
It's our
time. man.
language.
Drop a double negative on it.
I mean, and she's like, well, that's not correct, and I said, well, I ain't trying to be correct. I'm trying to correct you. Don't you do that in there another time.
Another.
And I don't, some stuff like that, she don't understand, or I'll say, slicker than a minnows tail, and she'll get tickled, but
I've noticed even in this county, we've got like 4 or 5 different slang languages for people. We got up the river people, we got towners,
The people over the
We've got
Lockhart Hill have a
middle
distinctly different
forkers, they
dialect.
got their own slang, Flat Fork, Lick Creek, and of course we all know who's who when they start talking, where they're from.
Yeah. If you
That's
come
just-
from over the
that's just
Lark,
way it is. It's a diverse.
That's an
county,
interesting topic.
Even just to have 11,000 people.
Is how different each section of Kentucky is. Then you
They
got
eat
Magoffin
different.
County. It's like different sections.
They
It's
eat
like
different, they cook different.
Western
uh,
Kentucky
they
is
got-
completely different
And
from
in,
Eastern Kentucky.
and in all fairness, we don't really represent that good, this crew here, because we're all pretty much from the same place.
Yeah. Middle Fork and Fur Middle Fork.
3 of us are from the same place, and then Don's from far Middle Fork, but us 3 were all 3
FER,
raised on
Fur.
Craft Creek. And, and I even count Crane's Nest technically Craft Creek. Yeah, I mean, but now me and Cody, of course, we come up in the right-hand fork in the head, they call it hurricane these days, but it...
Hurricane.
Hurricane, of course, hurricane, but and if you speak like the old timers, it would have been hurricane, but it was actually supposed to be Hurricane Fork,
Yes.
So I'm assuming a big wind came down one day back up in there, and they thought it was a hurricane. But
Tiffany Bradley said Curtis still sounds like deep fried cornbread.
well, like I said, it's an Appalachian thing, and I tell my youngin, I'm proud of it, and some of the things I say she don't understand, and I say, well, it is what it is. I'm proud of it.
Buttermilk
And,
biscuits with gravy.
Oh,
Great.
Paul Montgomery says it ain't fur, it's far.
well, far Middle Fork,
fur.
fur Middle Fork.
I'm with you 100%,
I
Wolf,
mean, it's, we
That's
could say right Middle Fork, but it's fur.
but it is fur.
I've worked a lot of places in Kentucky, and they
first
always
thing
make
before.
fun of my
Well,
accent.
you got the Crane's Nest special, son. That's why.
They say you sound like cornbread. I was like, you ought to hear some other people talk.
Well, I'd say that me and Don are probably by far the worst 2 in this crew.
Oh, yeah.
But here's a good topic. Good topic. I just thought of it. I'll get Kodo and Big John. So, our language here, my accent.
Yes, Courtney, great storytellers in
I
this part of the
I
country.
grew up in a time when we had 3 channels on TV if you was lucky, and we was constantly chasing the ladder wire up the hill to fix the antenna.
Hey, they think they got it rough.
And we didn't have a lot.
I
yeah.
remember the ladder wire.
Well, I had to crawl through 6 inches of shag carpet to change the channels.
And-
You
and-
think I didn't have it rough?
And we didn't
On
have
his elbows and knees.
we didn't have access to all the technology these kids do today. So I wonder, and I talked to my wife, my loving wife, about this. I wonder what will be in 20, 30 years from now. Will these kids not have an accent at all? I mean, because they're influenced, because the speakers like me are going to be gone.
Hi, Marley. Love you, Marley.
The speakers like me are going to be gone, and they're influenced by social media, via YouTube,
Granddaughter, Marley.
of course, and everybody pronunciates correctly. So I wonder how many years do we still have of our Appalachian dialect? What you boys thoughts on
It's
that?
enunciate.
Well, I think, people let it die. It's
Pronunciation.
up to the old you guys now, to keep it going.
I don't think we have the power to teach it. I think they're more influenced by social media, YouTube.
I mean, it's an interesting topic. The thing is like you said, that your accent's going to be based on what you're around and
what you
hear.
hear,
That's
Yeah.
somebody that was born in America, raised in Australia, is going to have an Australian accent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And people don't really necessarily only hear mountain dialect anymore, even if you grow up in the mountains.
Well, because, and the difference is now, because when we were kids, of course, me and especially Don, no, I ain't trying to throw off on you. You know I love you,
Go
but
ahead.
you're a lot older than me.
Yeah.
When there wasn't any
5
outside
years.
influence,
I understand. You're perfect. That's a perfect point.
There wasn't any outside
that's a
influence.
great
I
point.
mean, there wasn't no YouTube. There wasn't no cable TV. Shoot, I'll be honest with you.
But I can still say, come over here and get over yonder and out of my way.
Yanner, there's a good one. Yanner, I mean, that's an awesome one. Yanner.
Yanner.
Yeah, get over yonder.
Yeah, I mean,
Your choir, your people's choir, they
get
ain't
around
choir,
somewhere.
they're choir.
Yeah, choir. Always.
If you don't get over and quit, I'll smack the fire out of you. I've said that 1,000 times, but I know it's not correct.
Up there. It's not up there, it's up there.
Up there, yeah, up there.
UPAIR, up there.
A good one I always say, I'll say grinning like a mule eating sawbars. There ain't nobody knows what that means. or quit like a stir in a mud hole.
You
stuff
all
that-
just chime in out there, and if you've got any questions or want us to talk about anything, feel
I like
free.
that. I like that topic we was getting ready to start on is the ladder wire. Now you have our internet service provider at Foothills come hook up your TV and stuff now in your house. You didn't get that back in the day. You had to wire it yourself, go up the hill about 3
And by
miles.
the time I got it turned and they hollered like 3 different people, I'd already turned it too far.
Well, I mean, Don is,
Be on top of the hill.
that's it. And especially of all of us, every one of us, especially you, me and Tony next, and then John. Think about the technology difference we've seen in our lifetimes. I grew up, my first TV was a black and white TV with rabbit ears that caught channel 57 out of habit. Okay?
Well, the first time I figured out I couldn't eat popcorn laying down was when I was watching my first TV.
And he was how old?
I mean, it happened. I was about 5 or 6. That would have been 61.
So think about that right there.
62.
So you was 5 or 6. You was watching your first TV.
Yeah.
All right. I had my first TV probably when I was about 5 or 6.
But it weren't ours. It was the neighbor.
Okay, the point is it was still a TV.
Right.
So in that distance of time, from the time you was 5 until the time I was born and then turned 5, you still had, here's a TV, here's channel 57 out of habit. And
We had
then
Channel 3 out of
Okay.
Huntington, WSAZ.
WSAZ
with,
did channel 3 out of 100.
Mr. Cartoon and Beeper.
All right, but then think about, all right, so all that stretch of time, no real change in the technology.
Somebody trying to call me. Well, why in the world?
All that stretch of time, no real change in the technology, and then all of a sudden, something clicks, and the world changes. So I mean, it's just wild to think about. Like my kids will never grow up understanding. I remember it was just a couple of years back the first time my kids ever saw a commercial.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's something. There you go.
I've had my kids freak out and say, "What's
You're right,
this
Mr.
coming
Brown.
up?"
We're on top,
Because
and it's good.
Yeah, and there's
And
a
I
good
hope
there's
we
a
never
good
lose it.
comment too from Tyler Shepard and Misty. I don't get it. I'm bruh.
and drip's one of you. Do you know what drip is, Tom?
Great
No, sir,
accent.
never heard of
that.
You know what drip is?
Yeah, but I think penicillin cured.
Don, do you know what drip is?
Drip and what relation
As
to
a
what?
word.
That's what some
Drip.
Like a
middle
slang
schoolers
term.
and
Yeah,
stuff
no,
will
I
say.
don't
Oh,
know
but
what
I'm
drip
down to know.
means. I know what drip in the water line so they don't freeze means.
So drip now means you look cool. Like if you have like your uniform looks like you got the drip.
Well, wait a minute.
I'm sorry,
It's kind of like the swag.
It definitely means,
Yeah, the
it definitely
hats
means
right now we
something
got
different than when I was a
these
teenager.
hats are drippy.
We're dripping then. We're dripping.
No, I don't know what drip.
It definitely means something different than when I was a teenager.
But I have heard bruh and
Absolutely,
brew
Ricky Duke. I understand.
and all this foolishness, and I don't know why, But like I said, I mean, I guess
yeah,
when
fleet
people look
is
at me,
one
Ricky,
that I've
like
heard
they,
recently.
you know what you say.
I mean I don't understand what it. No, because everything that the words that we used, and especially the ones before us used, had a meaning, and they meant something to everyday life. Now, what's bruh?
Where's Casey
What's that
County,
mean?
Tiffany?
I mean, bruh,
What's up, bro?
bruh. What's up, bruh?
Well, now I know I catch myself. I'm a 37-year-old adult, and somebody asks me a question, I'll be like, yeah, nah. That's our slang.
Well, it's a
Some of the older
holler.
crew,
It's
they'll
a
be like, why
holler.
don't you say yes?
Well, it's like what I tell say something to somebody like you ain't got a lick of sense. You know
It's
what?
a holler.
It's
We
a
got
holler,
hollers,
yeah.
right?
You holler from the holler.
No,
Exactly.
You holler from the holler.
Andrew Reisner said, Kodo, you ain't that old. You was born with Wi-Fi. I assure you, Andrew, I was not born with Wi-Fi. John, when did we first see internet, period? I would have been...
I was a junior in
Now, we're
high
not
school
talking
until we got
Very crazy.
DSL.
I'm not
Gary,
talking
how you
DSL. I'm
doing?
talking about dial-up.
Glad you tuned in.
Like Wi-Fi phones?
No, like dial-up from the hook to the phone line.
That
You get
was
dial-up internet.
early 2000s.
Oh,
would've been
yeah.
Sandy, so
It was
yeah,
in middle
that would've
school.
Doing Andrew Reisner.
Yeah,
Lydia Holbrook.
I would've been
how
about
you doing?
12 or 13.
Glad to see you.
So I got a good story. Pretty good, funny story. We brought up wire antennas.
Jenna.
So one night, of course, they'd time up in the head of Craft Creek when it'd come on a storm. The antenna would go out because the wind would blow the antenna and move the wire. So Dad, he says, go up, son, on that point. We called it the antenna point. And he said, check my antenna wire. He said, of course, some of you people that if you're watching this was, 35 years ago. Things have changed. I get that. But anyway, I'd traded for me a little pistol. I had a little 22 pistol. And he said, go up on the antenna point, check my antenna wire. And I said, okay. So, and I'm scared to death. It hits a cracking thunder and a lightning, and
Oh,
I mean,
you
I'm
always hated storms.
I'm nervous of storms anyway, and I'm nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs shaking all over. But I wasn't going to try the old man because when he said go, you went, and he talked like go up on that hill. They wouldn't know. He had a real deep, like demanding voice.
Absolutely.
So I get my pistol. Like I said, I've traded for a little 22 automatic pistol. Probably traded a Beagle Hound for it or something. This was 35 years ago. And I go up on this hill. Well, I'm scared to death, and I see something white flash. Scares me to death. So I pull it out of my pocket right quick. Boom, 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 boom. Well, it runs off. So I go on up the antenna and never thought no more of it. And probably about 2 weeks later, the neighbor, we all gathered over at my uncle's house. The neighbor stopped in and said, boy, my dad, everybody called him Chub. Said, Chub, you ain't going to believe what happened. Said, some sorry son of a gun shot my old white heifer through the front leg with a 22 rifle. And I said, who would do something like that? I stood right there and I never opened my mouth. I never said nothing. True story.
Absolutely. Courtney Montgomery says, growing up, I loved sitting around listening to people tell stories like you guys are doing. There were some great storytellers. Who comes to mind for you guys? Well, two for me, probably the greatest storyteller I ever heard was Ernest Reisner. We called him Ern Reisner. And then we had the Whitaker from up the river. Forgot his name. One of the Whitakers, older guy. Forgot his name. He's a great storyteller. And but Ernest Reisner for me. I don't know who you guys listen to here.
I already mentioned mine. It was definitely my memo,
Right.
without a doubt.
I was around a lot of them, and if you're going to count dog stories, hunting stories, rabbit running stories, Lord have mercy, they was all
Yeah,
professionals.
I mean, you can't count that. That would have been that was at minimum 7-hour conversation that often led into argument, then back into conversation.
And I think it was Amanda one time. Of course, that's my wife, Amanda. When she came into the family, she said, "Tony, I've been in the family now for 7 years." She said, "That's the same story they was arguing about 7 years ago."
Well, it ain't set on repeat.
Yeah, they just. I mean, we'd all gather up at every Thanksgiving when we were young. We would all gather up at the old home place. for Thanksgiving dinner. And of course, before Thanksgiving, we was going rabbit hunting, and a lot of us still do now. And as soon as we got in and
Jessica, how you doing?
as soon as we got in and eat, just as soon as we got the eating done, it was on to the arguing about what done what, and the women, they get so aggravated with, they just go outside.
Same way with
you know?
playing cards.
Same way with playing cards.
Let me give an
Yeah.
outside
Or
perspective.
basketball.
Let me give an outside
We fought
perspective.
and
As somebody
argued.
who did some hunting growing up, but never really got into it like you boys. I would sit and I'd listen to these conversations until I fell asleep on the shag carpet. But I would listen to these conversations and I would listen to an argument for hours about how this dog was ha, 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 and that's a direct quote.
That's right. He's telling the
Yeah,
truth.
that's
All right. And then they would argue for hours about how this dog, no, I'm telling you it's a backtrack, and it was a backtrack, and it was a
Yeah.
cold trail.
You're right.
And the fact of the matter is, they were hunting in pitch dark, and the only thing they could do was tell their dog's mouth apart, and didn't nobody know whether or not it was really backtracking. But it was a fun argument.
That's every word the truth. Every word the truth.
We've got 98. I'd like to see 100.
Oh,
Come
we're
on,
going to hit
Jack.
the 100 mark.
Yeah, we get 100. Yeah, guys, we want to start doing this once a week. If everybody's on board, we'll talk about anything and everything. Anything
Jerry Montgomery, how you done, cuz?
you want to talk about, we'll talk about topics going on in the world. We don't want to get into anything political or.
We want to keep an Appalachian theme. You
Yeah,
know,
we're going to
just,
keep it a local theme, I think. But we, here's what happens. Now, I've got my opinion. Don's got his opinion. Cody's got his opinion. Big John's got his opinion. And if we get into politics, we're going to have people commenting on here mean things and hurt our feelings. And we're all
We
sensitive.
just want to have a good
We're all
good
sensitive.
time.
I mean, you don't want to see a 270-pound man cry on camera.
No, wait a minute.
You don't
Now,
want to see
listen
that.
here, listen here. My buddy Andrew just made a very good point, and I pinned it
Ruthie,
because I
how
liked
you
it so
doing?
good. You guys can gather and sit
Butcher
around during a
Williams.
winter storm and have 100 other people at the table with you.
Yep.
Back in the day, you'd gather and play rook, and nobody would know what was said until the moment.
101.
101. That's right. Hey, you're right, Andrew, and we love
You're
the fact that
exactly
we can
right,
gather,
Andrew.
Sit
Thank
around
you
the
all.
table and have 100 people sit around and just talk with us.
You're exactly right. I don't think all the advancements in technology have been bad. I mean, it's good for a lot of things. Like, if somebody's not able to get out and go to the doctor, they can do telehealth, stuff like
I
that.
just had one
You're
today.
surprised I know what that was, ain't you? Huh?
I just had one today.
Yeah, I mean,
You did one today?
yeah, there's a lot of good things about technology. For me personally,
He's
I
my
like
therapist.
to.
He lost her. Really, it's true. It's true
I like
story.
to watch YouTube a lot, like hunting videos. Now I'm a hunter. I'm probably Don's probably in his day, but I'm more of a hunter than the two other fellas here. So I like to watch hunting videos on YouTube. I watch a lot of historical stuff, and the good thing about even watch a movie, and you hear a word or you hear a phrase or you see an object that you don't know what it is, you just grab that cell phone, boom, 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 punch it in Google, and I mean that's great.
Yeah.
That's great about technology.
I like that.
Here's a good story. One more story here.
We don't believe in Google.
We love
I
stories.
remember, if you all growed up the way we did, most people around here did, there's a little fish in the creek they call a hog molly. Well, I seen them as a child, and I asked my dad and them older fellas, what is this?
You're right, Andrew, you're right.
It floats around on the bottom. It's kind of like a carp. It's an algae eater, whatever. But anyway, I said, what is it? They said, well, that's a hog molly. And now I'm talking about these guys are guys, born in the 40s and 50s, even 30s, and they said it's a hog molly. And I said, well, okay. As I got older, I started paying attention to things like that, and I saw one day, and I said, well, I bet that ain't what they call that. I said, I'm going to Google that. I said, them boys wouldn't know what that was called, but guess what it was? A hog molly. Now, how did they know the name of that
Wait a
fish?
minute.
Can
Now,
somebody tell
I
me
gotta
that?
give you an
Well, that's
alternate
all I
story.
ever knew it about.
I got to give you an alternate
Maybe
story.
they went
This-
from the
this-
Kentucky Fish and Wildlife.
This one's hilarious. Now, pickled eggs, and the ones that are pickled in beet juice.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
There's a difference.
I've always considered myself a somewhat slightly intelligent person. And I remember being about 6 years old, and I'm sitting along at Mamaw Gale's table. That's Gail Smith and Jack Smith. Now, not my biological Mamaw, but helped raise me, so she's Mamaw Gale. And I'm sitting at the table, and I look over, and I see this big jar of pickled eggs and beet juice, and I have never seen a pickled egg at this time in my life in beet juice. And I remember looking at Papa, and I said, hey, Pap, what's those things? And he looked at me and said, those are rabbit eggs. And I remember sitting here pondering this over in my head and thinking, well, now I know rabbits don't lay eggs. But Pap said those rabbit eggs, them bound to be rabbit eggs, and those will be rabbit eggs to me till I die. Them's rabbit eggs, as far as I'm concerned, till the day I go out.
Good one on my kid. Speaking of that, to go along with what he said. So, when she was little, she loved chicken. Everything chicken. She killed us with a chicken. Chicken nuggets, chicken strips, chicken. So I always hunted, and I killed a lot of rabbits. So Amanda started frying them rabbits, and we'd throw this white-tailed chicken. So from about 4 years old to about 10 years old, she eat rabbit, cottontail rabbit, and thought it was white-tailed chicken. Never did know.
White-tailed chicken.
Oh, Lord. No, there's good things about technology, and there's bad. Like I said, I'm really nervous about it myself because I don't understand it. I think if I had, like I said, to go back, and we're not trying to sell you nothing, but I'm just telling you the truth. If I've got a problem,
As you see
if I've got a problem on Facebook, if I've got any kind of problem, I'm calling Big John Howard with Tech Holler because he can handle it. I don't even fool with it. I just give him. Is this true, John? I give him my login info and say, "Here, fix this." I ain't fooling with this.
To answer your question, Allie, the chicken.
I just want to make an announcement that Grayson Smith has been tagged to come on and watch. I just want to announce
Daniel
that.
wants to know what the wildest animal we've ever ate is.
The wildest animal I've ever eat, I would say, for me, would have to be rattlesnake, I'd say.
I think bears.
Now, by wild, do you mean we actually caught it, killed it, and eat it in the wild, or just strange?
Probably the wild.
I would say, for me, rattlesnake, I'd have to say.
Bear for me.
I've ate bear, but I think a rattlesnake's because it's poisonous. Don't it put a little more wild factor in it?
Well, the poison glands nowhere in
bear
the
can
mouth.
eat
As long as
you,
you cut
though,
the head off, you're all right.
I mean, because you're
I
sitting
think
there.
rattlesnake, too. My list of strange animals are rattlesnake, alligator.
Haley Colburn, you're very smart. We are very wise men.
I have eat camel, buffalo, which a lot of people have eat buffalo at this point.
I've eaten
I
buffalo.
don't, Stevens.
I never eat no horse meat, Tyler.
I have never eaten horse meat. I hear it's stringy. I wouldn't care to actually try it.
But I will say
It's not a
this.
wild animal.
I will say this.
They eat a lot of horse in France,
This is going to offend some
dog in
people,
China.
but
by the way.
before I would starve to death, and I preach this. Of course, we live in a society, and I love pets, and I love my pets. But before I would starve to death, die of starvation, or let my child starve to death, I'd eat every pet on the farm. Now, I mean, like I said,
I'm 100% with you.
I mean,
You're
I
the
know
way-
it's going to offend somebody, and I'm sorry. I love my pets. I spend a fortune at the vets and getting their hair done. But let me emphasize this: before I would starve to death or watch my child starve to death, I'll cook them and eat them.
I got a new puppy and it's
I can't
cracking
help it.
everywhere. I'm dying to shoot
Here's
mine
what I got to
in
say
the
about
ditch.
that. If it's got a name, I can't eat it.
See that's not me, Bob. I ain't gonna starve.
Yeah, I ain't going down. No.
And like I
Even
said,
the dogs, Tony?
I want to emphasize because I know
let's
the
play.
world we live in, John. But listen, let me emphasize
Boys,
to
before I
this:
starve, I'll eat rat.
I will eat the pets before I will starve to death or let my child starve to
Now,
death.
if it's got a
Absolutely.
name,
I don't even care what its
I
name
don't
is.
care what its name is.
As long as it'll make a sandwich, I'll eat it.
What Don is saying, he's not going to eat Oreos.
I'll give me a spoon slap full of Fido.
Like I said, that may offend somebody, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm trying to be completely honest here, and we're talking about in a time where there was nothing else to eat. And I look over, and my little girl is going to starve to death and die of starvation. I'm cooking that dog.
Well, that goes into a conversation.
Am I wrong, Don?
I don't know. I guess I would, but I'd probably try to go steal something first.
Like I said,
Burjack, how you doing? From Western Kentucky.
Grayson Smith said, Presley Smith, did Tony Allen just say he killed a lot of rabbits as soon as I logged on? The first thing come out of his mouth was a lie.
oh, gee.
Brian Montgomery followed it up with fake news.
Yeah, well, boys, like I said, I ain't what I used to be.
You're right,
Kurt
Kurt. Little
McDaniel
hot
says a little
sauce.
hot sauce. That's all you need.
And like I said, I wonder, and that's a good topic too, because before I even said that, I thought about, well, should I say it? But it's the truth. I mean, we can't be in a society where we'll sit and watch our children starve and let a.
Look at the camera, Tom. We need to see the pain in your
Good,
eyes,
Ricky.
Ivana names her cows,
Eat
but
every dog on the farm.
the one going, she calls it ribeye.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, and we're talking about, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about in a time where we're on starvation. Okay, let's say
Survival mode.
this is survival. I look over my little girl that I'm responsible for because I'm her daddy is going to die of starvation if she doesn't get some substance. I'm cooking the dogs.
Sustenance.
So, I mean,
Well, that's just the way it is.
You're picking.
Yeah, a little bit.
that's just
Listen,
me.
Barry Jack, the fact of the matter is, if you got a house
sure
cat,
the pets would eat
if you
some.
got a house cat, it'll eat you before you cold, bub.
You're probably right, Barry. So it's the strong survive.
Yeah, people love their house cats. I've got a cat. I like my cat. But I know that if I go out, my cat's going to eat me before I'm cold.
They will. They don't care.
We
about
live
you.
in a society where we got to be so careful with what we say. But if we get away from common sense and reality, I mean, and our job as a parent is to absolutely protect our child. And we're going to sit here and say, we'll sit here and let the dogs sit around and let our children starve. We got something major wrong with us. And that's just the truth.
At some point, don't you?
And we're talking about, like I said, that's just the truth.
Tony, Paul Montgomery has asked how many times has he stopped coming from Michigan and let him, how many times?
So that's a good story right there.
How many times I had stopped coming from Michigan and let him eat? I don't know.
That's a good story
You know
right
what
there.
that
Since he brought that up, so of course, I've got a ton of family in Michigan. Everybody knows that. We're really close, and we're connected all around. Cody, Don, Don spent time up there. John's got family. John, you got Arthur and Luther. And,
Yeah.
we all got a ton of family in Michigan. So here's the deal. Kurt McDaniel decides he wants me to ride up to Michigan with him. He's going up to stay. And I said, well, I don't know how I'll get back. And I was talking to Dad, and Dad said, well, Paul Montgomery will bring you back. He drives up back every weekend. I said, you reckon he would, Dad? And he said, well, yeah, so that's your family. He said, I'll call him. He said, he'll bring you back. I said, okay. Or maybe Dad called Paul, or anyway, but he figured it out for me. I think maybe Paul said, Dad called him, said, bring my baby home, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But, son, we had a fellow with us on the ride home, but it was hilarious. Yeah, we stopped a lot. I was a growing boy, but I'll tell you what we did, Paul. We had a lot of fun, and we'll never be able to remake that 8-hour trip. If you remember, we done a lot of laughing.
Well,
That's for sure.
that's what life's all about, really. You know, you make memories, you want to laugh and have a good time, and that's what we're doing here. We hope we entertaining somebody.
Yeah, I hope somebody's entertained.
We're having a good time.
And guys, if you'd like to see more of this, like maybe a once a week thing, of course now we all work and we're all busy, but if you'd like to see this once a week, let us know and comment.
Absolutely,
Visit these boys' page, the Appalachia Insider. They do a lot of food recipes. They do historic stuff. They do local news. They do a little bit of everything. They do sports, all the middle school, high school ball games. They work hard. And
Yep.
if you want to see more of these podcasts, or if you got any ideas on what we should talk about,
Shoot us some questions.
Yeah,
Shoot us what you want to talk about.
like I said, we don't want to get into the
Eric, we will try to get Stoney out.
politics, and here's why. Here's why I don't want to get into the politics. Because here's the simple deal, especially when you get into politics on a national level. You got people up here that don't know us that are running for office on a national level, and they don't care about us. And they wouldn't pull us out of the ditch. So here's the deal. If I'm in the ditch, I'm going to call one of you on here or one of these boys, and they're going to come pull me out. The last thing on earth I'm going to do is fall out with them over politics.
Tony does work, Grayson. I promise you, I'm here every day. He is, you're laughing right now. You're laughing.
I
know
work
you
the
are.
hardest I have
I'm
ever
telling
worked
you,
in
he
my
I'm
is,
life.
laughing because for the
he's
last 3 days,
unbelievable
this
right
man
now.
has messaged
Tony
me so
is.
much that my fingers is bleeding replying.
So, guys, I just want to announce that this show is called Appalachia Connection. It's got its own website, Appalachia Connection, AppalachiaConnection.com, and it's going to have its own YouTube channel and stuff like that. So you guys can just watch this by itself, apart from Appalachia
This
Insider.
show is brought to you by Appalachia Insider and the Farmhouse Diner.
And guys, we want to keep this going. We've enjoyed it. We got a pretty good audience, looks like. And
On
if
Netflix.
you guys want to see, if you guys want to see more of this stuff,
Society of Snow.
oh, it's a movie that talks about
The survival.
and Ashley, I hate to go into that in the crazy world we live in, but I mean, if I leave this world and I don't explain to my child that she is wrong if she lets a dog live and her child starve, then I ain't done my job as a parent. And that's where I stand on it. I can't help it. I'll defend it till I die. I can't help it. I love my dogs. I've got 2 poodles, and listen, you've groomed them, Ashley. They get the best of care. But
can we really end this podcast with the deepest, most controversial take of the night, whether or not we're going to eat a dog?
Well, how long why do we have to end it?
We ain't ending it right
Okay,
now.
it sounded like we was wrapping up, boys, but I'm willing to go. We'll go all night.
This
I
is
don't care.
halftime.
no,
All
I
right,
think
I'm
that
just
we
saying.
I think we'll go till 8 o'clock because and we would go longer, but the
45 right now. We got 15 minutes.
the roads are getting kind of dicey out here. Maybe I don't know. Maybe some of you people out there can tell us. Of course, I got a 4-wheel drive, and
Listen, boy.
Al Troy Wayne, that's a good one. Yeah, them 22 bullets of whizzing by our head. Pew, pew,
Oh, is that on
pew.
Troy Wayne?
That's
I haven't
easy
seen
to
him in a
say,
minute.
Bert.
I'll never
Jack.
forget. That's an old boy. We growed
Well,
up together. We've done some good stuff too.
Conita, wherever that's at. Wapsa Conita.
Kanita?
Wapskoneta.
You remember the time, Troy Wayne, that
Wapsa
that the county was paying
Cracker Barrel.
$5 for every old appliance we could drag in, and me and you was both too broke to pay attention. So we borrowed an old long wheel-based truck of somebody's, maybe your dad's or my dad's one, and we combed the riverbanks, son. And we'd hook come-alongs to them old washers and dryers and jerk them up out of there, and we was getting $5 a piece for them. Well, we ended up making like $500 and like $250 a piece, and this is back in the late '90s. We thought we was rich, son.
You remember the time when...
And we went and eat like kings. I'll never forget, Troy Wayne. First thing we did was go and spend a buttload of money on food.
You remember the time? You remember the time when we was all living on Burning Fork? You remember this, Wolf? Yeah, we was all
some
living
parts
up on,
of it.
Some parts of
Some
Burning
parts
Fork.
I don't remember.
Me, Tony, and Wolf were all living up on Burning Fork, and Troy Wayne come to visit us. Troy Wayne pulls out the prettiest wallet I ever seen in my life. This was a Louis Vuitton wallet. Now, at this time, I'd never even heard of Louis Vuitton. Troy Wayne pulls this wallet out, and I'm sitting here and I'm drooling. I'm like, I've got to have this wallet. So my cousin Tony, if I'm not mistaken the story, buys the wallet off Troy Wayne for me. And this was, I think, $100, $200 wallet. Tony does me a favor, buys the wallet off of Troy Wayne from me. I sat and I carried this thing for about 3 months, and then all of a sudden I stopped carrying it. And I remember a buddy of mine asked me, said, "How come you quit carrying that wallet you was carrying?" I said, "Well, be honest with you, I hate to carry a $200 wallet with $3 in it."
We've all been there.
Andrew Reisner, I agree with him. He says a guy from Walmart moved here from Florida, married a lady from our area. He said people here crazy moving here at a bad winter, but it was the best decision he ever made because the people here, he said, the hillbillies have character and know how to treat people. I agree with that.
That's the best of my memory on it, Troy. That's the best I could do with it.
You know, there's a lot of, now that you brought that up, I talk with a buddy of mine about it pretty regular. There's a lot of people moving up and, moving into this area from
Well,
out
I
of
think
state.
we do treat people good. in
Oh,
this area.
of course we got, we're characterizing the South. We got Southern hospitality. Then we also got mountain hospitality.
The song says, "Come on over to the country."
and I'll be honest with you, there's never been a time in my life what I ain't, it don't matter whether I go anywhere up and down the creek. When I go into somebody's house, the first thing they say, "Can I get you something to eat? You want something to drink?" Now, that could be because I've always been big, and they say, "Well, that boy eats a lot." I don't know. And that's fine, too, that could be why.
Wait a minute. This is important. It has just now come out to me that my Louis Vuitton wallet was fake.
Hold on. They're selling them over.
I had no idea. I'm
That-
just now finding this out. Is there?
Thank you
Can we
for
get a
your
hold of the
touch,
Better
Al.
Business Bureau or somebody?
They're selling them over. They've been selling them over stock
Does
sale for
anybody know
years.
Todd and Sabrina Martin? Can I sue?
Yeah, we
75, Barry. Where would that be? Ohio State.
75. Yeah, 75
Ohio
north.
State. Cracker Barrel. Doug Allen is watching. How you doing?
I
Yeah,
think you
shout
know
out.
that man.
75 north. Been on that road a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
Hit Cincinnati, then on to Dayton Bows.
Yeah. Then,
Then Toledo.
Toledo. I just saw High Columbus.
Toledo, yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Boys, we about got on a very interesting topic there that I'm interested in discussing. Now, as you know, I've recently moved out of county. I don't live in Magoffin County anymore. Sad situation. It's a betrayal. I understand. Betrayal. But when I was looking for a home here in Magoffin County, the home that I love, the place that I'm from, the place I want to be, I'm looking at homes that are HUD houses. Do you remember HUD houses, Wolf?
HUD.
HUD. You remember the little HUD homes?
HUD. What was his last name?
Fire, somebody please.
HUD Bailey.
HUD Bailey.
Yeah, I remember HUD Bailey. But anyway, these little HUD houses, they would come in, they'd build these little houses. They'd be about $38,000. You get your brand new house. You get a low interest rate, low interest loan. So I'm looking. I've got a large family. I'm looking for.
Right here.
We do absolutely. I've got a large family. I'm looking for a place that I can put my family, and I'm looking at these little HUD houses that were built in the early '90s, maybe even late '90s, for $38,000 to $32,000, and I know this, that are selling for $320,000 in Magoffin County. So could anybody explain this to me? Because I'm really lost on it.
Oh, I can explain it to you simple.
Please, break it down.
Everybody wants to live here. Don just told you it's the hospitality.
Is that what it is?
It's the hospitality.
Yeah.
Yeah, hospitality.
Baltimore, I think you got that. You could have the farthest away, Leah Allen. Chin.
Baltimore,
We
Maryland.
know Baltimore right now.
I miss my squirrel.
Is Baltimore is Baltimore?
New York.
Is it in Maryland or is it D.C. Metro, or is it both? Maybe you can answer
Baltimore,
that for us, Lee.
Maryland.
I know technically it's in Maryland, but isn't it considered the D.C. Metro area also? I'm curious about that. Maybe you can answer that.
Baltimore.
Here he is, boss.
Well, you're right, Doug. I agree with you there.
Listen in Bellevue, Florida.
Oh, we
What's the
got,
weather like down there, meat man? Let's see. Tommy Corder here said it's changed down there too. I remember being down there years ago when we left Chubb's car in town and got in with someone else. I noticed that the keys were left in the car and told Chubb I have never forget what he said. I can't take the keys. What if somebody needs it? Well, it's not really
It ain't
changed.
changed that much, Tommy. I'll give you.
Tommy, that I don't ever take the
I'll
keys
give
out of
you
my
a perfect
vehicles.
example. I was walking along one time. I made sure to tell us about him. He probably still leaves them in the same place. But I was walking along one time in the middle of Sarysville. I don't remember what the reason was. I'd say I was probably 20 years old. And for some reason, I don't know if my car broke down or what, but I'm walking in Dustin. My cousin Dustin's living in Sarysville. And I look over, and here's Dustin's house, and I look over and see Dustin's car, and I thought, well, there's my ride. So I go over. The keys are in Dustin's car. I get the car, go on to the house. I wake up the next day. It was real late when I went to bed. I wake up the next day about 2 o'clock. Dustin's called me. He said, "Hey, Bub." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got my car?" I said, "Yeah, I do." Now, I don't know how he knew I had it, other than I'm the only one that stole it, I guess. I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "You care to bring it back sometime?" I said, "Yeah, as soon as I get done with it." I took it back to him 2 days later when I fixed mine.
Well, that's always been the way we've been. We never did care about vehicles. I remember my daddy always, I can't remember what I was doing, but I locked the door. He said, "Hey, Bub, a thief's going to rob you, they're going to rob you." He said, "All you'll get with a locked door is a busted window."
Tony, how many times when we was growing up did I steal? How many times when we was growing up did I steal your Z71?
Oh yeah. Hey, like I said, I still don't take the keys out.
Which
of
it's wrong to call it stealing because he knew I had it, and he knew I'd bring it back.
I don't take the keys out of nothing. I really don't. I don't lock my doors. I live in an area where I feel
You
safe
might
and
not ought to
protected.
put that out on the internet.
Well, I don't care. I got good neighbors. I ain't. Let me tell you
They
something.
do say that pickup trucks are the thing that's stolen #1 in America.
Well, I got an 07 model Chevy. If they're gonna go out of their way to steal it, they probably need it worse than I do.
Mine's fully covered. If they steal it, just let me know.
Be honest with you guys, I just the 07 Chevy. Let me give a shout out to it. Get a little off topic for some of you car guys here. I bought that truck many years ago, and I ain't turned a bolt on it other than maybe an occasional rusted broke brake line,
Here
or
we go.
and maybe an occasional rusted broke brake line, or like small maintenance stuff, brakes, rotors, whatever. But anyway, I just had a bunch of work done on it the other day, and I have done nothing but hunt and beat that truck to death, and it's took all these years to even have any work done on it. So I got to brag on the 07 model Chevrolet with the classic front
Now,
end.
listen, it may be because
Cat eye front end.
Cat eye classic, cat eye.
It may
yeah.
be because I'm Chubb Allen's nephew, but now, boys, I like an old Toyota.
Well, them old Toyotas from the late 80s, early 90s now, they don't get them little two-wheel drives. They don't get no better.
Those little things. You remember the time we was going up beside your mom and dad's? We were heading up the hill. We was going fishing.
Thank you,
Me?
Michelle.
Tony,
Love you, Mouse.
my brother Jacob, and my uncle Chubb heading up beside the hill. And Chubb always had these old beat up Toyota pickup trucks. Me and Jake's in the back, and Jake's kind of leaning against the back sidewall of the truck. All of a sudden, I hear pop, pop, crack. There goes the sideball and Jake rolling down the hill. So I go smacking on the window. Chubb, stop. You've got to stop. We've lost Jake. Chubb locks the vehicle up. You all right, Jake? Yeah, I'm all right. Well, throw that in here and let's go. He threw it back to the truck and we went on fishing.
There
So
you go.
here's a good one for you. So I'm sitting out here doing my thing, listening to the boys talk, and I guess I'm giving it this right here. And, you know, of course, I got a habit of doing that. And my loving wife sends me a text message and says, "Stop picking your nose on camera." I guess that's technology.
No,
you know?
let me tell you what it is. That's a woman that loves you, Tony. Stop picking your nose on camera, you dummy.
Well,
That's love right there.
what if you want to, though? I mean, let's go there.
Well, I mean, like my nose was itching. I was giving it this and that. You know, maybe it's just a nervous fidget. I don't know. I'm as nervous as I can be.
Is it?
Do you guys want? Go ahead, Don.
No, you go.
Do you guys want one ending topic, or it's almost 8?
Yeah, we're going to try to cut off at 8 because the old man's getting
All right, let's do one more ending topic. We're going to go with favorite 80s movie. How about that?
All right, favorite 80s movie.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So, do we narrow it down to one movie?
One movie of the 80s that you think defines the 80s.
For me? Make it personal about me?
personal.
The Goonies.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
I'm going to say Back to the Future for me.
That also was a good pick. I'm going to have to go with favorite 80s. I don't know if it was made in the 80s, though. That's the thing.
Name it, we'll let you know. I kind of know.
First Blood, Rambo.
Oh,
What I
That's
went
80s
with.
movie.
Solid. That's 80s. So, late 70s, early
Yeah,
80s.
I mean,
I think the first one was 79, but then they went on
The
into
end
the
scene
80s.
where he's talking about his buddy ain't got no legs, man. Woo!
Yeah. Don, favorite 80s movie?
Oh, there's my friend right there. Where you at, boss?
Be between Tom Hanks and Big, or
I like Big.
Eddie
It's a good
Murphy and
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop.
That's good. Both good ones. I watched it the other night. One quick story
This
from
is what I
me
dealt with working every day.
about my movie. So a lot of you guys on here, and I want you to comment and tell me if you remember these days, because I'm sure you do.
Hoosiers is great.
Of course, we didn't have
Smokey and the Bandit's a good pick on the comment.
any VCRs at home back in the day, and we didn't have any movies. You know, we had the little 3 channels you could pick up, but back when I was young, for our birthday or special occasions, or if me and Dougie and Matt or whoever were getting together, Tina, Becky, I can name off Wendy, 1,000 of us, Cody, you know, the younger ones. If we were all getting together, love John Claude Van Damme, Troy Wayne.
The Scouts were really tough. Cody.
If we were getting together, you could go over in the day to Vision Quest, and you could rent a VCR and movies. And the VCR, comment guys if you can remember this. The VCR back then wasn't like it was in the later days. It popped up on the top, and you put the movie down in it. Do you remember this? I know you remember this, Tom.
Yeah.
So, me, Matt, and Dougie Allen went and rented a VCR, and we rented the Goonies. And of course, now we were raised up in our house that we grew up in had been a church house originally, and we took it up there and we watched that movie, The Goonies, and we had a camp out, and that's one of the best memories I had from my childhood. So that's why that movie from the '80s sticks out.
Well, now
to
I
me.
know we're wrapping this up, but now I got to bring this topic up because I was talking to my kids about it the other day. They asked me, they was like, "Dad, let's have a movie night. Let's have a movie night. Have a movie night." All right. Well, movie night now consists of everybody sits down, then I turn a movie on.
Yeah, then they
Where
go
when we was growing up, man, it was a production. Like you go to town, you get a pizza from Tom's Pizza, Sayersville, now Farmhouse Diner. You get a pizza from Tom's Pizza. You rent a Sega video game.
Yeah.
And then you got to read the back of the movies because nobody knows what these movies are about.
Then you can't
gotta
get the
figure
kids
it
to
out.
pay attention. I don't know if it's because of iPads
It's
or
because
YouTube.
they didn't put in the effort. It's like growing your own cabbage. It tastes better.
But it's like they'll sit and watch a movie for about 20 minutes, 20 to
right.
30 minutes,
Oh, my
then
God.
it's over with, or they're gone to
They
their
didn't put in
iPads
the
or
effort. They
whatever.
didn't have to go to the Vision Quest, and they didn't have to search through the movies.
Right.
And then when they get home, they're already tired, and then you relax and you eat your popcorn and,
And
your
I
pizza
was
and
one
watch
that
your flick.
said the movie rentals would never work. Boy, I
Did
was
you?
wrong.
Oh,
I
my
did.
goodness.
Yeah,
Listen,
I said people won't quit going to theater.
But it wasn't just a production. It was
And
that
drive-ins,
it
but-
was that it was a nice production. This was something that you look forward to
Paul
on the weekend.
Montgomery.
And the movie theaters are about dead now.
I know. Paul Montgomery absolutely going to have guest speakers.
See what I commented on there? Look on that. What I commented back to him.
Oh, I didn't see it.
One of our guest speakers.
Oh, who was it?
Well, now, Presley, we aim to try to do this once a week if we can, as long as everybody keeps sticking with us and everybody's
I
enjoying it.
didn't get it.
Yeah, guys, let's make it a goal for next week to get up to 200 viewers. We want to try to grow it every week. One last thing I want to say, of course, I've said it before. If you need tech work, holler at my man John. If you're hungry, come here.
Happy
If you
birthday,
ain't hungry,
Cody.
come here anyway, because you're welcome here. You sit around, tell a story, watch the boys, drink a drink of water. Water and coffee's free. Just stop in, say hello, and shake our hand.
Once again, we want to say that this podcast is brought to you. It's hosted by the Farmhouse Diner and Appalachia Insider. Our sponsors are Granny Made Cheesecake and techholler.com.
techholler.com, Appalachia Insider. And of course, you guys can find the website, appalachiaconnection.com. The YouTube video will be up on it. You'll be able to keep in touch there. There's also a Appalachia Connection group we've started.
Is it Connection?
Appalachia
Jump
Connection.
over on Appalachia Connection, guys, and leave us a comment. Let us know what we're doing wrong, what we need to do better. We'd really appreciate it. We get home tonight and we get 50, 60 comments on there. We're all going to be like, oh, we're going to be
Melinda
king of the world.
Melinda wants to know
you
what
guys
day-
be safe in this storm.
Are we
If
sitting
anybody needs anything,
tonight?
call
Thursday?
any of us. We'd be glad to help you out. And peace.
I think Thursday night is probably what we're going to shoot for every week, once a week. The only conflict of interest we may have is, like I said, our tech guy, which is Big John. He streams the ball games live for folks. So if there were to be some kind of conflict of interest there, we may have to reschedule, but we'll give you a previous, in advance. That'd be the only conflict of interest I can think of. Yeah.
So, guys, be sure to check us out, AppalachiaConnection.com. You can check out the Farmhouse Diner, FarmhouseDinerKY.com. You can see the menu on there and everything now. TechHoller.com.
I see my good buddy Johnny on it. Hey, Johnny.
And I don't have a website. So
Don's working on a website.
Be sure to check out Appalachia Insider for your local news information. We try to keep it up to date as possible.
But I guess that concludes the first episode, guys. Be sure to join the group and leave us comments of some topics you'd like us to talk about.
yeah.
And
Thank you so much.
that's it.
Good night, folks.
Good
Be
night.
safe. Watch the roads. Everybody be careful. Don't get out if you don't have to. We're going to jump in the 07 Chevy and creep
Say the same. What was you going to say?
towards Craft Creek. And remember, down there at the farmhouse, we'll leave the light on in the kitchen for you.
All the way.